And I am thrilled to be emceeing today's marketing intensive track. This is going to be a great session called Data-Driven Insights and Integrated Marketing Powering Growth. And we've got a rapid fire session with multiple speakers. Each of them is going to give you concrete takeaways that you can use to drive growth in your business. And so I'd like to introduce our three speakers today. We've got Kevin Herrholtz, the VP of Client Success at AddShoppers, who will be talking about the 95% problem, winning back the shoppers you never knew you lost. Then, Bethany Hawthorne, Senior Director of Client Services at Ovative, who's going to share her thoughts on From Signals to Scale, how integrated measurement unlocks growth. And finally, Michael Gunther, VP and Head of Insights at Consumer Edge, Beauty Trends Real-Time, how transaction data reveals the winners of 2025. So, Kevin, over to you.
Thank you very much. Where's the third day energy? Oh, all right, thanks so much. So good to be here. So talking about the 95% problem, so winning back shoppers you never knew that you lost. So the real interesting thing about this 95% stat, and it's actually a quite sad thing, is that 90% of these 95%, you have no idea who they are. So they're coming to the site, perhaps showing great interest, leaving, and then you're left standing there saying, well, who was that? So in today's modern marketing, we have a blind spot. So we could be using great tools like Klaviyo, we could be using Google Display, Facebook ads, those are all great, but they only work if the shopper's engaged with those various channels to get into your flows. So it leaves us with a bit of a gap. So before we go further, let's go ahead and define a couple things here. So let's talk about retargeting. Retargeting would be messaging those shoppers that were on your site. They showed that great interest, right? So maybe they made it to the shopping cart, they browsed 5 or 6 pages, but they dipped on your site and you have no idea who they are. Remarketing is what we traditionally know. Remarketing, you know who they are. You're using your ESP to go and communicate with them, right? You're using behavioral messages based on likes and interest. That's a very common thing. But there's this bridge here, right? So that's where, with my company, AddShoppers, and our product SafeOp, we use intelligent marketing. We bridge that gap between remarketing and retargeting to be able to go ahead and reach all those shoppers that are abandoning your sites. So with this, we have a co-registered network, 450 million devices, basically the entire United States of America. So when a shopper comes to the site, and they show great intent to purchase. So again, think about that, cart abandoned, deep browse abandoned, maybe a sufficient time on site. Whether you know them or you don't know them, if they show that behavior on the site or enough behavior, we're able to identify their email. Even if they didn't provide emails anywhere within any other flows. And when they leave your site, we're able to go ahead and both remarket, retarget, follow me here, intelligent targeting, to be able to go ahead and provide them an incentive, sometimes a greater % off, dollar off, free gift, free shipping. That's gonna get them back to your site, ultimately convert. We're gonna turn that anonymous shopper into a known shopper, into a repeat loyal customer. So how do we do it? Well, we are experts in deliverability. I joke all the time that probably 3/4 of the company are engineers. Right? We have to send emails very efficiently. We have to get in the main inboxes. So you can see we have an 87% inbox placement rate, 95% email acceptance rate. If we're not delivering emails, we're not providing value, and if we're not providing value, we're not making money for the brands that we work with, and we're not making money ourselves. It's important to note that SafeOp doesn't replace any of the other tools. You still continue to use all these other tools. SafeOp is going to go ahead and complement those tools. SafeOp can be used for intelligent targeting, where it's messaging both known and unknown, or it could just be used in isolation to go ahead and message those completely anonymous shoppers with incentives to bring them back to the site. So we're driven by data. We guarantee a return on ad spend. Why? Because we have no fees, other than the performance fee when they come back and convert. So we don't charge for an onboarding. We don't charge a platform or subscription fee. When they convert, that's when you pay. We can send 3 million emails. If none of those convert, we don't charge anything. We protect your domain reputation. we send on our domain. That's important because there's no risk to your deliverability, spam complaints, and opt-outs. So the key takeaways, again, we all know this. The shoppers are leaving without providing any information within any of your flows. They leave without a trace. The difference between remarketing and retargeting, one is the anonymous, one's the known, bridging the gap with the intelligent targeting. And then finally, we have that guaranteed ROAS. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over now. Please scan the QR code. What a wonderful time of the year, right, to win yourself a cooler. So please feel free to go ahead and do so. I'll be around too, so if you have any questions, feel free to come up to me and ask. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Again, my name is Bethany Hawthorne. I'm with Ovative Group. If you're unfamiliar, Ovative Group is a modern media and measurement firm headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with offices in New York and Chicago, and team members coast to coast. At Ovative, we're on a mission to transform the measure of marketing success. And as a passionate integrated media and measurement leader, I'm so happy to be here today to share a little bit more about our approach. All right, so I'm going to establish a framework and some common ground. We, as brands and marketers, share many of the same goals. We are tasked with driving business growth, but the ways in which we measure impact are vastly different, oftentimes very fragmented and siloed. At Ovative, we think of business growth as the culmination of incremental revenue, new customer growth, and brand equity. We also believe that to be truly transformative in measurement, we need to measure all three of these together holistically. I say this to inspire and not scare you. Oftentimes, the brands that come to partner with us want to accelerate their measurement journey, and we know that it's a very complex and challenging space to navigate. So if you are sitting here today and you are questioning your current approach and you're feeling a little stuck, I want to offer some opportunities to just get started. If you are currently leveraging last click ROAS as your source of truth, I want to encourage you prioritize incrementality testing. At Ovative, we recommend geo-based testing. We want you to test and retest and learn and test again. Create incrementality factors that will help you bridge the gap in your advanced measurement journey. If you are a brand or marketer that is not currently using or looking at store sales and data, start with some signals. Really great signals are a small place to start. Leverage a Metacappy or other like partners and their platform offerings to just get started. If you are a team that wants to focus on customer and you don't have customer goals in place yet, start setting them. New customer goals, retained customer goals, reactivated customer goals. And lastly, if you are interested in brand health, brand equity, and this is part of your journey, and you're currently only testing brand lift at a platform or partner level, consider a cross-channel strategy with a partner like a Disco or a LoopMe. And that is a great bridge as you look to modernizing your advanced measurement approach and unlocking MMM. All right, so what is Ovative doing and how can we help? 15 years ago, we created Enterprise Marketing Return, or EMR as we call it. This is our North Star framework that aligns marketing with the metrics that matter most. I know I've said it a few times now, I'm gonna say it again. Incremental revenue, incremental customer growth, and brand. The way that we bring this to life is through our MMM. I know I'm not gonna have enough time to get into the details and the nitty-gritty of this approach and how we measure, but what I wanna bring and offer you today is a case study. The case study that I would like to share is from a national omni-channel retailer. They came to us, and in our partnership, their total business was struggling. They were missing their sales plan. This was due to some softness in store sales that were being offset by e-com performance. The leadership team at this retailer was looking for levers to help close that gap in revenue in those sales plans. And so they turned to us as a strategic partner to help offer some potential scenarios or solutions. The paid media program was continuously performing above target rates, and that was really demonstrating to us an opportunity to take on more in a profitable way and help bridge that gap. The finance team did require several scenarios to evaluate before they were willing to lean in and adopt and give that incremental budget for media to help close that gap. So our approach, again, we aligned this org and this retailer on a common goal, leveraging EMR. So measuring for holistic or enterprise level incremental return across profitable revenue, customer, and brand, all informed by our MMM. We used MMM, again, to forecast several different scenarios for those finance leaders to review and align. So we felt confident in the trade-offs and decisions that we were gonna make before we went and started to activate media. We aligned on a plan, we put media into market, and then we evaluated on a very consistent and regular basis. Our MMM refreshes weekly, which gives us the insight and intel for optimizing media in a more real-time manner, but also evaluating the impact along the way. And with that active optimization strategy and rigorous in-market testing, we were able to drive some pretty significant results. I know they speak for themselves, but let me quickly highlight. Through this course of action and our strategic partnership with EMR and our MMM, we were able to increase incremental revenue by 15%, a 45% incremental new customer, 5% purchase intent, and we were able to help exceed their EBITDA return targets. I know these metrics very much speak for themselves. All right, if you felt inspired, intrigued, curious to learn more, I would love to spend some time to break down EMR in more depth and have a conversation with you all on advancing your measurement approach. So please connect with me. Again, Bethany Hawthorne with Ovative. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for joining me. I am Michael Gunther, Head of Insights at Consumer Edge, a consumer data and insights firm. So today we're gonna dive into real-time beauty trends. This is just one example of what we do with credit and debit card data, and I just wanna start with a simple question. How do you know where your brand stands in the market today? A lot of brands have a ton of information about their own performance, but they don't know how they're performing relative to others and potentially where they're losing customers to if they are underperforming expectations. So let's dive into how credit and debit card data can answer those questions. Okay, so just a little bit about Consumer Edge and what credit and debit card data can do. What we're gonna focus on today is US consumer and credit card data, but we also have UK and EU. But you're able to assess and track market share gains and losses in near real time. We're talking 3 days after the transaction across channels, online, offline, and through third-party distribution. You're able to access competitive intelligence. How are your competitors doing on a day-to-day basis across tens of thousands of store locations and across tons of different brands of all sizes. You're able to break out where spend is coming from in terms of increased traffic, transactions, or an increase in average spend amount per customer. And we're also able to get down into demographic trends, geographic trends, and behavioral insights. And then finally, you're able to make assessments about how the market is changing overall, not just with your subsector of brands that you operate against. Okay, so we've seen a lot about a weakening consumer this year, and we track everything that a credit and debit card can touch. So we're talking apparel, accessories, and footwear, we're talking luxury, restaurants, specialty retail, all across the board. We've heard even before there was tariff-related volatility, there was a softening trend across these discretionary industries, and beauty was no exception. So what we're seeing through the first several months of the year is that overall growth is a little soft. There were pockets of weakness, and actually in recent weeks, there's been some troubling signs of high-income consumers pulling back, which is one of the areas that I think brands have been dependent on staying robust amid weakness in lower income consumer segments. But beauty was no exception here, and we saw weakness particularly in the direct-to-consumer beauty product space, in addition to beauty retailers like Ulta, Sephora, and beauty services like hair salons. The good news is, and this is where our tracking of brands of all sizes, well in excess of 10,000 brands, really comes into play. Even though the overall picture is weak, we're able to identify who's winning and then unite themes that are driving those brands to win, which could serve as a clue for the way in which brands across industries, not just in beauty, might be able to succeed, even though people are being more discerning in their spending. So we have a big report, State of Beauty, which I'll share the QR code at the end. And I just wanted to highlight a little bit of it right now, where we're looking at the top 5 performing beauty brands in our data so far this year. And as I said, these have found a way to stand out in an otherwise weak environment. So 2 things are really standing out among these top 5. Rhode Skin and Fleur are really succeeding with viral influencer-led marketing. Some of it has to do with the founder, some of it has to do with TikTok influencers. Those 2 brands have done really well. And then you see there's a few other brands on this list that have sort of leaned into evidence-based, science-backed, minimalist approaches. And certainly in the case of Spoiled Child and its sister brand Il Makiage, an AI-driven, personalized experience that has allowed them to stand out, especially among the really important younger group in an otherwise weak sector. In this report, which you can take a look at by scanning this QR code, you're able to see the top 40 in the US, top 20 in the UK, top 10 in the EU, and you're also able to break it out by demographic like income and gender in the UK, age groups, to really understand the brands that are winning with these sorts of strategies, especially when they're targeting specific groups. And I would also invite you to take a look at our website to see all the other insights we provide across industry. Thank you.